It's the vibes, okay? That's all you need to know, the vibes. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I'm coming to you with my 10 best books of 2023. I read a lot of books in 2023, and I ended up getting about 55 stars out of the 265 books I read. Some of those 5 stars are definitely vibes books, and some of them are on my best books of the year. So let's count down to number 1 and see what I loved in 2023. In the number 10 spot, I have Make Me Wilder by Serena Bell. This is a contemporary romance that I ended up picking up in like a deal at our local bookstore and ended up absolutely loving. And I think the reason it made this list was just how surprising it was to me. I was expecting to like it, but I was not expecting to love it and love this main character couple and love this family and just be so excited to continue on. This is the first book in the Wilder Adventure series, and in each book we follow one of the Wilder brothers. The brothers, along with their mother and sister, own like an outdoor adventure retreat place that really looks at survival in the wilderness. It's not doing so well now in their very small town that is now kind of moved towards kind of higher end resort status. So Lucy, who is coming home to see her mother, gets hired by Gabe's mother and the brother's mother to kind of fix up the look of the resort, change the marketing, fix the look, and kind of get people to want to come here. The town has a lot more wedding venues going on, and they want to market towards that and market towards more couples retreats versus survival. And they want to change the look. Well, the mom does, and she knows they need to save the business, but the brothers are not sure. The main brother who is in charge of the company, who really kind of oversees everything, is Gabe. And Gabe and Lucy meet before he knows who Lucy is, and sparks really fly when they first meet. The chemistry between them is fantastic. Then Gabe finds out who Lucy is, and he does not want to change his business. He does not want to do these things. So he's like, I'm not interested. And we kind of go into a little bit of enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers. But there is this undeniable chemistry between Lucy and Gabe. And we see them kind of struggle to find their footing, as well as come up with a compromise that will make everyone happy. I have not continued with this series yet, but it's definitely something I want to do in the new year and see what the other brothers' books are like. I absolutely love this book, but it caught me off guard because it's very steamy and there's ducklings on the cover.
I mean, the cuter the cover, the more steamy the book.
For book number 9, I ended up putting in My Dreams I Hold the Knife by Ashley Winstead, which was the first Ashley Winstead I've read. I've read 2 others since, and they haven't quite hit for me as well as this one did. And I think that's because this one is dark academia, and I really do love a dark academia book, and the other books are just not as in my wheelhouse. This book follows Jessica. Jessica, when she was in college with her 6 friends, one of her friends was murdered one night, her friend Heather. Heather's murder has never been discovered. What happened to Heather? We don't know who killed Heather. There's always been some suspicion around one of their other friends, but we've never fully gotten to the bottom of what's happened. Now, 10 years later, everyone is going back for their college reunion, and someone is gathering them all together to uncover what really happened to Heather. I loved the vibes of this book. It was dark academia, and it was definitely a favorite for this year. In number 8, I have Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I am particularly putting on the first book in the series. The first book is the only one I gave 5 stars. I ended up reading all 4 books in this series this year, so clearly I loved it a lot. This follows a group of senior citizens who lives in a retirement village and solves cold cases in the first book. And then someone gets murdered at the retirement village, and they decide that they should be the ones to solve this murder. This book is all about the characters. It is super character focused. I'm a pretty character focused reader, so that works perfectly for me. This eclectic group of characters and the people that they pull into this Thursday Murder Club is so fun, so funny, and I just enjoy my time with these books. The first book is definitely my favorite at 5 stars. I think I gave books 2 and books 4 stars, and I gave book 3 3 stars. But I do love this cast of characters so much, and they needed a place on this list. For book number 7, I have The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a Carrie retelling. It should be of no surprise that a retelling has made this list, but this one was especially wonderful. The audiobook is great. I highly recommend picking up the audiobook for this book. This book follows Maddie, and at the very start of this book, Maddie is in high school. She's passing as white in this very southern town with a lot of racist people around her. A lot. This is a town that still has a segregated prom. That's a big part of this book, and it's like in the year 2000. So when people find out that Maddie is actually Black and is not white, they start to ridicule her. They start throwing things into her hair. It's atrocious. The media finds out about this and flocks to this town to really put a spotlight on the racism going on in this town. So it forces the town to have its first all-together prom, and things go down at this prom. It is a Carrie retelling, so take that as you may. And it was fabulous. 5 stars. My favorite Tiffany D. Jackson, but I mean, I will continue to read everything Tiffany D. Jackson would like to write because I do enjoy this author's work a lot. In number 6, I am going to put a series, but specifically book 3 would be my favorite in the series, and that is the Witsex series by Ashley Rostek. The third in the series is my favorite at Love Me, but 2 of them got 5 stars for me, 2 of them got 4, and I read the whole series this year. I read the first 3 books in like a week in February, and then I had to wait very patiently for book 4 to come out in August. It is one of my favorite series that I've read this year. That's why it's on this list, obviously. This follows Shiloh. Shiloh has had her whole family murdered by a serial killer and now is in witness protection. She is moving into her new safe house. Her uncle's moving her in. Her uncle is part of like the Rangers or whoever does the witness protection in the United States. Anyway, that's what he does. And he is setting her up in her new house. Next door lived the Stone brothers, Colton, Creed, Knox, and Keelan. And they start to get to know Shiloh, and a wide shoes reverse harem happens with these brothers as we kind of help Shiloh recover from the traumas that she's had from what has happened to her, as well as protect her from this person that she's in witness protection from. These brothers are my favorite characters. I love these brothers so much. I wouldn't want to choose either. I mean, everyone has their list of favorites, and I kind of think it's always funny when we discuss it, everyone who's read this series, like everyone's favorite brothers are different. I mean, I love them all. I love them all. I love Shiloh. I love these books. I very well may reread this, and I am not a big rereader, so that says a lot about this series and how I felt about it. In the 5th spot on this list, we have Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a queer retelling of Achilles and Patroclus, and I adored this book. I cried. I felt all the feels during this book, and the writing in this book is absolutely beautiful. The prose is gorgeous. Madeline Miller is so talented, and I need to read more of their works immediately. I must. This was a B&K Book Club book for us this year, and for me, it was a huge success. I know it had mixed feelings in the book club, but I absolutely love this. And I think it's because I do really like that very lyrical, flowery writing that Madeline Miller does. I enjoy that a lot. But I also knew the story from the Iliad. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I did know it and did have some parameters for the story. This is a retelling, but in a way that was really unique and different because in the lore of Achilles, Patroclus is his like right-hand man, his friend. But in this retelling, it still kind of keeps to that everyone thinks that's what's going on, but really they are in a relationship with each other. They obviously are just not shouting that from the rooftops because people would not take kindly to that in the time in which this book was written, and they would be ostracized for it. So they have to keep it low. They have to keep it quiet, and they are. So in a way, it kind of came off as that both stories could be true. The original is the one that everyone believed was happening, and this is what was actually happening behind the scenes and was the real truth. And to me, that was really the special part of this book. I mean, the writing was also special. Everything about this book was special, top tier, and it had to be on this list. In my 4th spot, I have Spells for Forgetting. I love this book and actually read it in the same week I read Song of Achilles. So that was a really good week for me for reading. In this book, we follow Emery. Emery is now an adult, but when she was like 16, 17, her best friend was found murdered. They live on this island called Sorsha, and this island really is steeped in magic, and grandmothers and mothers pass the magic of plants and healing down to their daughters. The world is just steeped in magic, and this island is steeped in magic. And there's a thing that everyone says that the island calls to you and it tells you when you're meant to be here. And it really is that this place in and of itself is magical. And the vibes of this book, the vibes, everyone. It's the vibes. So anyway, Emery is now an adult, and her boyfriend August was originally suspected of her best friend's murder. He left, his family left, they left the island. His mother has now passed away, and she wants to be buried on this island. So he has to return home. He's coming back. He shows up, and Emery's like, oh no, he's back. Like, this is going to restart this discussion all over again. It's going to restart some suspicions. But like, I loved him. He was her first love, and I miss him. And they reconnect, and they fall back in love, and they decide they are going to get to the bottom of this. He knows he didn't do it. She knows he didn't do it. And they're going to figure out who did it. So we follow various perspectives in this book. We follow Emery, we follow August, we follow some of the town's people. But there is a point in this book where an inanimate thing, I don't want to say what it is, but an inanimate thing is personified. And at that point, I was like, just take my money. Just take my money. Just take it all. I loved this book. I adored the witchy vibes, the magical realism. It needed to live its life on this list. I would be remiss to not have it here. In the third spot on this list, I'm actually putting two books. It's a series. I read both books, gave them both 5 stars, and I could not pick between the two of them. It would be like picking my favorite child, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to be mean and make me do that. That would be rude. That would be wrong. And that is Ninth House and Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. The dark academia vibes are top tier, and I fell into these books and I never want to leave. I want to go to Yale with Alex Stern. I want to fight the demons. I want to see the other side and the spirits, and I want to know all about the magical societies of Yale. I want to know all the things, and I want to be a part of it. Alex Stern is at Yale. She is a student at Yale, and she is part of an organization that is tasked with like governing the secret societies at Yale. Each secret society has its own magic system, and they do various rituals, and this society has to make sure that they don't go off the rails, that things don't happen that shouldn't happen, and frankly, things happen that shouldn't happen. That's how there are 2 books. There will be more books in this series. I cannot wait. I just cannot wait, but there is no date for the 3rd book. There was almost 3 years between Ninth House and Hellbent, so I think I'm going to have a long wait, which is sad. But like, I will wait. I will wait patiently, and I will be pre-ordering whatever the 3rd book is and dropping everything in my life to read it when it comes out. In our number 2 spot, we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is a twisty, dark thriller. This is by far my favorite Lisa Jewell book, and I really think she outdid herself with this book. This is a podcast thriller. We know I love a good podcast. I ended up not doing this on audio because I had the ARC, and I did listen to the audiobook podcasts that were released leading up to the release of this book on Apple Podcasts. And I need to actually reread this with the audiobook component of the audiobook. But I have heard part of it from the Apple Podcast, and I do need to do a reread with the audiobook. This is dark. It's twisty. It follows Alex and Josie. Alex and Josie meet one night when they're out for their birthdays at a restaurant. And they realize they are birthday twins. They were born on the same night in the same hospital, and they are birthday twins. Josie inserts herself into Alex's life. Alex does podcasts, and Josie reaches out to her and says, look, I'm your birthday twin. Would you like to kind of see a woman changing her life? I'm about to change my life. Would you like to kind of document that for your podcast? Alex says yes, not knowing what she's about to get into. And all sorts of things happen. We find out so much about Josie's life. And the whole time, the title tells it all. None of this is true. You are wondering, what is true? What's actually going on? Who can I believe? There is unreliable narrators left, right, and center. People are doing things, and it is just twisty and fantastic. This book I fell into, and I will be rereading this with the audiobook next year because I need to listen to it in its completed form on audio. Now, if you have been with me since the start of the year and through anything going on this year, you might know what this book is. My best book of the year is the first book I read in 2023. I started off the year strong and it never reached the same heights ever again. But that's because this book was a masterpiece in dark academia, in fantasy, and in the history of language. And that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This book was so fantastic. I do highly recommend doing this as an immersive read, because it is such an in-depth look at languages, I think it would be hard to just listen to the audiobook, and I think it would be hard to just listen to the book. I really think the sweet spot of this book is done through immersion reading the book. In this book, we follow Robin. He is a little boy in China. His mother is very, very ill and she ends up dying. A man comes from Europe. He adopts Robin and brings him to Oxford University, where he raises him and puts him into the translation department at Oxford University. In the translation department, there is the Tower of Babel, and in there they do silvering, where they write words on silver and it gives them power. This is a really interesting look at colonizing, at the taking of other people's heritage and using it for the elite. And it was a really interesting look at how this magic was really only distributed to rich people when it could have really helped poor even more. And there's so many things that this book was looking into, but I cannot even imagine the research that R.F. Kuang had to do to even put this book to pen to paper. And I just applaud that in and of itself. I could talk for ages about this book, and I have all year, so I won't go on and on and on, but this book was such a wonderful dark academia book. It's chunky, it's dense, it's very, very dense, hence why I recommend immersion reading, but I absolutely could not put any book above it this year. It is by far my best book of 2023. And that's it. Those are my top 10 books. Well, more than 10 books because some of them are series, but you understand. I can't pick between my favorite children, so we're just going to put some of them together and share the spots because I can't choose. So that is the end of my best books of 2023, and I would like to know down below, what was your best book of 2023? I would really like to know to see if I've already read it or so that I can check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.